The clock read 6:15 a.m. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee drifted from the kitchen, seeping through the walls of the still dim bedroom. Diana sat on the edge of the bed, her white work blouse already wrinkled. Her head was bowed, her gaze fixed on her trembling hands. Beside her, Lily was curled up under a light blue blanket, sleeping peacefully, her tiny breath soft and regular. This was her first day back at work after 3 months of maternity leave. But instead of feeling ready, Diana's heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. "Sweetheart, Mommy has to go to work now. Just for a little while," she whispered, gently touching Lily's cheek. The baby stirred with a soft groan before settling back into silence. Diana managed a bitter smile and took a long, deep breath. The guilt hit her like a tidal wave. She knew not every mother had the luxury of choosing to stay home, but leaving a baby this small felt like a betrayal of her most primal instincts. From outside the room, the sound of footsteps grew closer. Eleanor, her mother-in-law, appeared in the doorway holding a warm bowl of oatmeal. "Are you ready, Diana?" Eleanor asked, her voice calm and gentle as always as she offered the bowl. Diana gave a small nod. "I am, Mom, but honestly, I don't feel ready to leave Lily." Eleanor smiled and sat on the edge of the bed. "Lily is safe with me. I've cared for plenty of babies back when I was a nurse. You just focus on your work. If she cries, I know exactly what to do." Diana looked at the older woman, her eyes beginning to well up with tears. Silently, she was deeply grateful that Eleanor was still living with them. Their relationship hadn't always been smooth, but ever since Lily was born, everything had changed. A new bond had formed, one that went deeper than just mother and daughter-in-law. "Thank you, Mom," she whispered. Now don't be sad. Lily will understand that her mommy is fighting for her." Diana stood, kissed Lily's forehead, and walked out of the room. In the dining area, her husband, Mark, was already at the table, staring silently at his phone. His face was blank, as if this day held no significance for his wife. "Mark, I'm heading out," Diana said, pausing beside him. Was his only reply, a quiet grunt without looking up. His eyes never left the screen. Diana waited a moment, hoping he might stand up, kiss her cheek, or even just look at her and wish her luck. But there was nothing. She drew a deep breath and walked out the door. As the door clicked shut, Mark glanced up for a second before his eyes went back to his phone. From the bedroom, Lily began to cry. Eleanor immediately went to her, but Mark remained at the table staring blankly out the window. Outside their beautiful house, Diana's life as a manager was starting again. But inside that same house, another world was slowly starting to crack, and Diana hadn't noticed it yet. On the second morning, Diana had just finished packing her work bag when a sharp cry erupted from the bedroom. It was Lily again. But this wasn't a normal cry. It was more like a frantic scream. Diana instinctively ran to the room, her high heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Inside, Eleanor was holding Lily, whose tiny body was stiff with tension, her face red from crying. "Mark just walked in, and she started screaming like this," Eleanor said, lovingly patting her granddaughter's back. "He didn't even do anything." Mark, standing near the doorway, held up his hands defensively. "I just wanted to help hold her. I got close and she started wailing. She's just a fussy baby." Diana walked over and took Lily from Eleanor's arms. As soon as she was in her mother's embrace, Lily's cries slowly subsided. Her rigid body began to relax. She squirmed a little and started sucking on her thumb. Silence returned. Diana glanced at Mark. "Maybe she just doesn't know you that well yet. I rarely see you play with her." Mark turned his face away. "I work, Diana. I come home exhausted. Didn't we agree that I wouldn't have to be the primary one dealing with the baby stuff?" Diana wanted to argue, but her tongue felt heavy. It was true. During her pregnancy, they had agreed she would handle most of the baby care, while Mark focused on his career. But still, this was their child. "Babies can sense things, Mark. If she feels unsafe, she might react like this." "So what are you saying? That I'm scaring her?" Mark looked up, his gaze sharp. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became tense. Lily, who had just calmed down, whimpered softly. Diana chose to stay silent. This wasn't the time to fight. Whatever, I'm leaving. I'll be late for a meeting, Mark said curtly and walked out. After the door closed, Eleanor sat on the edge of the bed, sighing deeply. Don't overthink what Mark said. He's probably just adjusting too. Diana looked down at Lily, now asleep in her arms, but her heart was unsettled. That cry wasn't from hunger or sleepiness. It was a cry of fear. And the thing that made Diana's chest ache the most was that it only happened when Mark came near. In the following days, the pattern repeated itself. Lily would cry hysterically only when Mark entered the room. Even before his hands could touch her, the same desperate wail would begin, as if begging to be kept away. Diana started keeping a small log on her phone. What time did Lily cry? Who was in the room? How did she react after being calmed down? Her maternal instincts refused to be silenced, but her heart was still in doubt. Could Mark, her own husband, be hurting their child? Or was this just a new mother's oversensitivity? The truth was slowly knocking, and once that door opened, there would be no going back. Mark stopped coming home on time. Diana started counting. For 4 consecutive nights, her husband had returned after 9 p.m. No calls, no excuses, just 1 or 2 word replies to her texts. Overtime, office stuff. Don't ask. Tired, Diana wasn't a fool. She worked in the same corporate world. She knew the rhythm of late nights at the office. And Mark's routine was too neat, too dismissive, too empty to be just about work. What hurt the most was that he never even asked about Lily. Not once. Did Lily cry today? Can she roll over yet? Any new developments? There was nothing. Just a void. As if Lily wasn't his daughter. That morning, after Diana finished nursing, Mark came out of the bathroom looking exhausted, his eyes bloodshot. Mark, Diana began softly. Do you still love Lily? Mark paused. Then, with a flat expression, he replied, What kind of question is that? Because you barely look at her. You never hold her for more than a minute, and every time you get close, she cries like she's terrified of you. Mark threw his towel into the laundry hamper, his voice rising. I'm not a baby entertainer, Diana. Do you have any idea how tired I am? Do you think I'm not stressed out at work every single day? And here you are, accusing me of something. I'm not accusing you. I'm just confused, Mark. Lily is our daughter, but she seems scared of you. She's a baby. Crying is what they do, Mark cut in, his eyes sharp and menacing. You're being overly dramatic. Just drop it. Don't look for problems. Diana froze, her hands trembling. Mark's voice sounded like a stranger's. Even Lily in her arms began to sob. Her tiny body squirmed, trying to get away, and that sight wounded Diana more than anything else. At the office that day, Diana couldn't focus. Her mind was a chaotic mess. She opened her phone's gallery and looked at a photo of Mark holding Lily for the first time at the hospital. His smile was so happy, his eyes glistening. What had changed? When exactly did that smile disappear? At home, Eleanor was also growing worried. Lily gets fussier whenever Mark is around, doesn't she? Her eyes, they look like she's asking for help, she whispered one evening when Diana got home. Diana could only nod, a lump forming in her throat. She wanted to defend her husband, but more than that, she wanted to protect her child. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Diana cried alone on the balcony. The cold wind touched her cheeks, carrying a question she could no longer ignore. Is it possible that Mark is actually hurting my baby? Night fell slowly. The sky outside the window was a murky grey, just like Diana's heart, heavy with questions. She had just finished bathing Lily, and the sweet scent of baby soap lingered on her fingertips. Lily seemed calm, calmer than usual, because tonight Mark wasn't home yet. The clock read 9:40 p.m. Eleanor sat in the living room, folding laundry. The TV was on, but no one was really watching. The house was quiet, peaceful, until the sound of the garage door opening broke the silence. Mark. Diana peeked from the bedroom doorway. She saw Mark walk in, carrying his briefcase and a plastic bag. His face was grim, his eyes tired. Or maybe he'd been drinking. Diana wasn't sure. Just getting home? Eleanor asked without looking up. Yeah, a lot of work. Mark answered curtly. I saved you some dinner, Eleanor offered. Don't bother, I ate out, he replied dismissively before heading straight to their bedroom. Diana held her breath. She bit her lip, wanting to confront him but not knowing where to start. A few minutes later, when things had quieted down, Diana followed him into the room. Mark was changing, his back to the door. Mark. I want you to try to get closer to Lily. Maybe you could learn, little by little, like feeding her, bathing her, or just holding her while I'm working. Mark let out a short, cynical laugh. I'm not the nanny, Diana. You're the one who insisted on having a kid, so you can be the one to take care of her. Diana's blood boiled, but she forced herself to stay calm. She's our daughter, Mark, not just mine. Mark turned around. His gaze was cold, sharp. You have no idea how tired I am. I'm the one bringing home the money. You just get to sit pretty at home. It's so easy for you to give me orders. Don't you see it, Mark? Lily cries every time you come near her. Aren't you even a little curious why? Because she's a baby. All babies cry. No, Mark, Diana's voice rose unconsciously. Lily's cry is different. It's like she's terrified. Mark took a step closer. Their eyes were now level. Don't you dare accuse me of anything strange, Diana. Don't start with the drama. Diana took a step back. She looked into her husband's eyes, and for the first time she saw no love there, only emptiness and perhaps an anger she couldn't comprehend. Mark sighed. I'm sleeping on the couch. I'm sick of listening to you. He walked out of the room. That night, Diana sat alone on the corner of their bed. The room was dim, the only sound the gentle whirring of the ceiling fan. Lily slept soundly in her crib, but Diana couldn't sleep. An image kept replaying in her mind. Lily's face, crying every time Mark approached. Not a normal cry, but the cry of someone who felt unsafe. Hurt. She started searching online. Baby cries near father. Baby afraid of one person. Trauma reactions in infants. And there, among dozens of articles, her eyes locked onto one sentence. Infants can experience trauma from a very early age. They may not be able to speak, but their bodies store memories of fear. A selective crying response toward a specific individual can be a sign of abuse or improper treatment. Diana's hands trembled, her heart pounded in her chest. She needed answers, but more than that, she needed proof. And that night, she made a difficult decision that would change everything. Tomorrow, she would see a pediatrician. Behind the facade of their perfect suburban home, Diana was finally opening her eyes. What had once seemed like an ordinary marriage was beginning to peel away, revealing a darkness she never imagined could come from the person closest to her. The next morning, Diana took a day off work. She told Mark it was for a personal matter that couldn't be postponed. He just nodded, not asking any questions. As usual, he was cold, almost indifferent. Honestly, Diana was relieved. She couldn't keep pretending for much longer. She picked up Lily, freshly bathed by Eleanor. What is it, Diana? Her mother-in-law asked gently, wrapping Lily in a soft blanket. Diana hesitated for a moment, then answered in a low voice. I'm taking Lily to the pediatrician. There's something I suspect. Eleanor's gaze sharpened. About Mark? Diana remained silent, offering only a slow, painful nod. They arrived at a welcoming clinic with pastel-colored walls and the faint, clean scent of antiseptic. The name on the door read, Dr. Evelyn Reed, M.D., Pediatrics. Dr. Reed was a woman in her 40s, with a kind face and sharp, empathetic eyes. When Diana entered with Lily, she greeted them warmly. And this must be Lily, 3 months old, is that right? Yes, doctor, Diana replied, taking a seat. I know this might sound strange, but I feel like Lily is afraid of my husband. Every time he gets near her, she cries uncontrollably. But with me or my mother-in-law, she's calm and even sleeps soundly. Dr. Reed listened intently, never once interrupting. Has your husband ever shown any signs of violence? She asked carefully. Diana shook her head. No, I've never seen it directly, but my gut tells me something is wrong. Lily is a calm baby all day, except when Mark is around. Dr. Reed then examined Lily. She observed her body language, her reactions to touch, her eye contact. She asked Diana to sit farther away, then had a nurse pretend to be a stranger approaching the baby. Lily just stared for a moment before getting comfortable again. But then, Dr. Reed played a voice recording from Diana's phone, Mark's voice, accidentally captured in a short video Diana had taken at home. Lily's reaction stunned everyone in the room. Her body tensed, her little legs kicked restlessly, her mouth twisted into a grimace, and then she began to cry. A piercing wail. It wasn't a cry of hunger, but a cry of pure terror. Dr. Reed immediately stopped the recording and soothed the tiny infant. Once Lily had calmed down, she looked at Diana with a serious expression. From this reaction, I strongly suspect Lily is experiencing a selective fear response. A baby her age can't talk, but they can recognize voices and store emotional memories. Her reaction is classic: body tensing, short breaths, followed by crying. This can be a sign that she has felt threatened by that voice before. Diana couldn't hold back her tears. She felt a crushing wave of guilt. Did I realize too late? No, Dr. Reed said quickly. In fact, many mothers take much longer to notice, but you are observant. You followed your instincts, and that may have just saved Lily. Then she added, if you're ready, I suggest you install a hidden camera in your home. Place it in an area where Mark often interacts with Lily when you're not there. That recording could become evidence, not just for you, but if necessary for legal purposes. On the way home, Diana held Lily tighter, her tears falling freely. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm sorry Mommy was slow to understand, but I know now, and I promise, you won't be alone anymore. When they got home, she approached Eleanor and told her everything. The older woman was silent for a long time. Then slowly she said, I'll help you, Diana. We'll install that camera. We'll find out the truth. But whatever the result, you have to be ready. Diana nodded, though her heart was pounding with fear. She knew that after this, there was no going back. Behind Mark's thin smile and their beautiful home, a secret was cracking open from the inside. And Diana, with a mother's heart, was ready to expose it all, even if it meant destroying the world she once called her family. That night, after Lily was asleep and the house was silent, Diana and Eleanor sat together at the dining table. The only sounds were the ticking of the wall clock and the soft hum of the kitchen vent. On the table between them was a small open box. This hidden camera is tiny, Eleanor commented, examining the minuscule device shaped like a shirt button. It can be placed on a bookshelf or in the corner of a cabinet. The quality is good and the audio is clear, Diana explained, trying to sound confident even though her hands were ice cold. Eleanor looked her daughter-in-law deep in the eyes. Are you sure about this, dear? After this, we might see things that are very hard to watch. Diana swallowed hard. That's exactly why I have to know, Mom. I can't keep guessing and just hoping everything is okay. Eleanor finally nodded. All right then. Let's put one in the living room and another in the nursery. The first camera was placed in the corner of a bookshelf overlooking the sofa and the area where Lily often played on her baby gym. The second was tucked away on top of a small dresser in the nursery, high enough to monitor the entire room but not obvious. For the next few days, Dana went about her routine as usual. She left for work in the morning and came home in the evening. But every night, after Lily was asleep, she and Eleanor would watch the recordings. The first day, there was nothing. Mark barely even touched Lily. The second day, Mark was seen staring at Lily from a distance, his expression unreadable. He simply walked past her. On the third day, Eleanor had to step out briefly to pick up a prescription from the pharmacy. Mark was left alone in the house with Lily for about 45 minutes, and that was when everything changed. The recording from day 3, time-stamped 9:13 a.m. The video showed Mark sitting on the sofa, his face etched with irritation. Lily, in her baby bouncer nearby, was crying softly, not screaming, but the kind of cry that asks for attention. Mark growled. He stood up and walked over. Without a word, he kicked the base of the bouncer hard. The seat rocked violently. Lily, startled, began to cry louder. "Shut up," he hissed. "Always crying. You do nothing but ruin people's lives." Then he pinched the baby's arm. Lily shrieked. Mark's expression was dark, And then came the most heartbreaking moment of all. He leaned in close and said in a low, sharp voice, "I wish you were never born." Diana clamped her hand over her mouth, her face drained of all color. Her eyes were glued to the screen. A moment later, Eleanor appeared at the front door. Mark immediately backed away from Lily, grabbed his phone, and pretended to be watching a video. A fake smile plastered itself on his face. Eleanor walked in and immediately picked up Lily. The baby clung to her grandmother's chest, sobbing as if she had just survived a storm. "Oh my God!" Diana collapsed to the floor, her body racked with sobs. That's my husband." Eleanor knelt beside her. Her own face was calm, but her eyes were red. "I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't accuse him without proof. Now you have it, dear." "He's hurting her," Diana mumbled, her hands clenching into fists, physically and emotionally. "Now you have a choice," Eleanor said softly. "You can stay silent or you can act." Diana looked at the screen one last time. Lily's cries were still audible. That tiny body was screaming without words, but her voice was loud enough to pierce the heart of anyone who heard it. And that night, Diana made her decision. Tomorrow she and Eleanor would go to the police. They would bring all the recordings. It didn't matter who Mark used to be or how many years they had been married. All that mattered now was Lily. And as a mother, Diana chose to be her protector. The morning sky was overcast, as if mirroring the storm inside Diana. There was pressure in her chest, a tremor in her fingertips, and a tightness in her throat. Alongside Eleanor, she drove to the police station, a flash drive containing the hidden camera footage clenched in her hand. On it were Lily's screams, her tears, the pinch, and the cold, cruel words that should never be spoken by a father. But they had no idea that wasn't the only evidence that would destroy Mark. The night before, after discovering the horrific footage, Eleanor, sensing something more was hidden, had suggested Diana check the living room recordings from the previous days. "My gut tells me Mark isn't just hurting Lily," she had said in a low voice. "He's hiding something else." With a racing heart, Diana opened the folder from 3 days earlier. Sunday, 2:45 p.m. The house was empty. Diana, Eleanor, and Lily were out for a doctor's appointment. The video showed Mark entering the house with a woman. She was young, dressed casually but flashily, her long hair tied back. Mark was smiling, the same smile he once gave Diana, now given to someone else. They sat on the sofa, too close, laughing. A few minutes later, the woman's voice could be heard, coy and demanding. "Come on, you should just divorce your wife. You're not happy, are you?" Mark didn't answer, but he pulled the woman into a long embrace. Then, they walked into the master bedroom. The door closed. The recording continued in a sickening silence. Diana wanted to vomit. The same hands that had pinched their child were now touching another woman. The same heart that had once sworn fidelity had now betrayed everything. She had no more tears left to cry. All that remained was a cold, hard rage. At the police station, 10:15 a.m., a detective listened to Diana's explanation with a grave expression. Eleanor sat beside her, holding her hand tightly. The flash drive was inserted into a laptop. As the footage played, the detective's face grew tense. "Ma'am, this is child abuse. We can act on this immediately." "And the other woman?" Diana asked quietly. "Infidelity isn't a criminal offense, but it will certainly strengthen your case for a divorce. As for the child abuse, we'll move on that tonight." Diana nodded. "Do whatever you have to do. Just keep Lily safe." That evening, at 8:45 p.m., Mark arrived home. He tossed his keys on the counter and threw his jacket on the sofa. He looked tired, but managed a small smile as he glanced at his phone. Probably a message from her. Then, 3 firm knocks sounded at the door. "Mr. Mark Jennings? We're from the police department. We need you to come with us for questioning regarding a report of child abuse." The color drained from Mark's face. He tried to argue, but 2 officers were already presenting a warrant. Eleanor emerged from the kitchen, standing silently with an icy stare. Mark looked at his mother for help. Eleanor's only reply was flat and cold. "You're not the son I know anymore, Mark." That night, Mark was taken away. and for the first time in a long time, the house felt peaceful. There were no screams, no fear, just the sound of Lily's soft breathing as she slept soundly in Diana's arms. Mark was detained. The news spread faster than Diana could have imagined. Family group chats exploded. Some asked with concern, others with thinly veiled accusations, blaming Diana as if a broken home was solely the wife's fault. Why did you have to involve the police? Married couples should keep things private. Poor Mark, he works so hard. How could you report your own husband? Diana read the messages in silence. Her hands trembled, but her resolve was firm. She no longer felt guilty. She had done what she had to do to save her child. In the interrogation room, Mark denied everything. I was just tired. I never meant to hurt her, he told the detective. It wasn't abuse, just a firm reprimand. But the video evidence spoke louder than his lies. At the trial a month later, everything was presented. The videos, the audio of Mark cursing at a baby who couldn't even speak, the footage of Lily's terrified face, and the testimony of Eleanor, who stood with the dignity and pain of a mother and grandmother. I witnessed it myself, she stated clearly. I saw the change in my granddaughter's behavior. I know the signs of early childhood trauma. I used to be a nurse, but this was too close, too painful. Mark was found guilty. He received a suspended sentence with mandatory psychiatric rehabilitation. More importantly, the court granted Diana full custody of Lily and issued a permanent restraining order against Mark, forbidding him from contacting his ex-wife and child. Yes, Diana had filed for divorce. It wasn't an easy decision, but she knew that wounds can only heal once you leave the place that keeps making you bleed. But this wasn't the end. Though Mark was gone, the trauma remained. Lily began showing signs of sleep disturbances. She would cry at any loud noise. Even an angry voice in a TV commercial made her little body tremble. Diana took her to a child psychologist. Together, she and Lily began attending bonding therapy sessions. In a room filled with colorful toys and soft dolls, Diana learned how to touch her daughter with gentle reassurance, how to look into her eyes and say softly, "You're safe now, sweetheart. Mommy's here. No one will ever hurt you again." Every word, every hug, slowly became a medicine. The wound didn't disappear overnight, but love began to cover the scar, little by little. One afternoon, as Diana was tidying up toys, Lily, now almost 10 months old, suddenly pointed to a photo on the wall, a picture of Diana, Lily, and Eleanor. Lily mumbled a soft sound. "Mama." Diana stopped. Her eyes filled with tears. She turned. "Yes, sweetheart, that's Mama." Then, unexpectedly, Lily wrapped her arms around Diana's leg and smiled. It wasn't just a hug. It was the first sign of a safety that was finally beginning to grow. The days after the trial felt like blank pages, challenging but full of potential. The beautiful house no longer felt like a prison, but a sanctuary she had to rebuild for herself and Lily. Eleanor became her unwavering pillar of support, often staying over to help care for a gradually more cheerful Lily. "If you get tired, just say so, Diana. I'm always here for Lily," Eleanor said one afternoon, wiping sweat from Diana's brow after a long nursing session. Diana smiled, tired but warm. "You're irreplaceable, Mom. I don't know what I would have done without you." Eleanor simply smiled and squeezed her hand. "We are family. Not because of blood, but because we love and protect each other." After the incident, Diana decided to take an extended leave from her job as a marketing manager. She knew her priority was Lily, but she didn't want to lose herself entirely. A friend told her over the phone, "You don't have to rush back, Diana. This is your time to heal." "But I'm afraid I'll forget everything I've achieved," Diana confessed. "I don't want to fall too far behind." Her friend replied wisely, "Focus on getting strong first. You can always catch up on your career, but you can't always replace time with your child or your mental health." Every day, Diana, Lily, and Eleanor spent time together. They played, they sang, they learned Lily's baby language, and they filled the house with warmth and love. Diana cherished the small changes in Lily, the little smiles when she saw her mother, the playful nibbles during games. She knew, slowly, the trauma was fading. One afternoon, Lily burst into delighted laughter as Eleanor made funny faces and danced around. Diana captured the moment, whispering to herself, "This is a small step, but it means everything." She knew their journey was far from over. There would still be hard days and long, fearful nights, but she was certain that with the right love and support, they would get through it. She looked at Lily, asleep in her arms. "We're going to rebuild this home, sweetheart," she whispered. "From the broken pieces, we'll build a palace full of love." Months passed, and life for Diana and Lily found a new, peaceful rhythm. The old wounds hadn't vanished, but Diana was determined to build a better future. Her routine was simple but healing. Mornings were for reading picture books and singing songs with Lily. Eleanor was always there, helping with breakfast or watching Lily, while Diana began taking on freelance digital marketing projects from home. The flexibility was exactly what she needed. "This is a new start, sweetie," she'd whisper to Lily. "Mommy's going to be home more to make sure you always feel safe." As Lily's therapy continued, centered around play and gentle touch to help her process her anxiety. Diana also learned relaxation techniques to help soothe her daughter and herself. She joined an online community for working single mothers, finding strength in their shared experiences. "Sometimes you feel so alone," she shared in one meeting, "but then you realize so many others are fighting their own battles." Though Mark's lawyers would occasionally send messages, Diana refused all communication. "I freed myself from that painful past," she told Eleanor, who always reminded her, "Sometimes letting go is the only way forward." One bright afternoon, as Lily laughed freely at the park, Diana felt a genuine happiness fill her heart. "I promise we'll be happy, baby," she said, her voice full of hope. "We'll build our own little family, full of love and joy." Their newfound peace was tested when Diana received a call. Mark was appealing the court's decision, fighting for visitation rights. Fear and anger churned inside her, but Eleanor was her rock. "We have to be ready, Diana. This is about keeping Lily safe." The stress caused a regression in Lily, who became more anxious. But this time, Diana was armed with tools and a powerful support system. Her community rallied around her. At the appeal hearing, Diana stood strong, backed by her lawyer, Eleanor, and expert witnesses. Mark tried to present himself as a changed man, but the evidence was undeniable. The judge upheld the original ruling, keeping the protective order in place. Diana felt a profound sense of relief. The storm had passed. The late afternoon sun cast a soft orange glow, painting a new chapter for Diana and Lily. Their long journey of pain and perseverance had forged a new kind of family, one built not on obligation, but on unconditional love and safety. Diana finally understood that family was the place you felt most secure. With Eleanor by her side, they were a trio, bound by resilience. "Thank you," Diana told Eleanor one evening as they watched Lily play, "for being a second mother to her and the best friend I could ever ask for." Eleanor smiled warmly. "We're a family, dear. We walk this path together, no matter what." Diana slowly returned to the professional world, but on her own terms. She started a small consulting business from home, helping other working mothers find balance. She learned to forgive, not for Mark, but for herself. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting, it was about releasing the weight of the past so she could fly. One night, holding a sleeping Lily, Diana looked up at the ceiling, her heart calm. The road ahead was long, but she was no longer alone. She had love, courage, and a new family to carry her through. This wasn't just the end of a painful story. It was the beginning of a beautiful new one. For more stories of resilience and justice, don't forget to subscribe to Velvet Vendetta